At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 8th of 19 candidate forums for the 2025 general elections in the Cayman Islands, proudly hosted by the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce. My name is Omari Corbin, and I'm honored to serve as the current president of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm also pleased to be one of the panelists posing questions to our candidates this evening. Before we begin, I would like to sincerely thank the three Bodden Town West candidates, Mr. Osborne Bodden, Mr. Heyman Ranking, and Mr. Chris Saunders, for accepting our invitation to participate in tonight's forum. By appearing together on this platform, you demonstrate a shared commitment to the democratic process and to the people of Bodden Town West. Your presence signals your readiness to address the pressing issues raised by the community through a recent chamber survey, which has helped shape the question we'll be asking tonight. While time won't allow us to cover every question submitted, we will do our best to focus on the topics identified as most important to the voters in the Cayman Islands and Bodden Town West. When the Chamber was founded in 1965, it was built on the principles of supporting, promoting, and protecting the interests of our members and the wider community. Remaining strictly non-partisan, we have proudly hosted these candidate forums every election year since 1988. We've provided a neutral platform for 9 elections, allowing voters to hear directly from those seeking public office and helping our community make informed decisions on election day. The questions for tonight's forum have been carefully developed based on past and current chamber surveys, our 3-year advocacy agenda, and submissions from the public in various constituencies. No candidate has received these questions in advance, ensuring a fair and open discussion. As an organization committed to supporting a strong and sustainable Cayman, the Chamber's advocacy efforts focus on 3 key pillars: building a future-ready workforce, sustaining economic success, and advancing quality of life. The newly elected Chamber Council believes that these pillars are fundamental to the continued growth and prosperity of our islands. Looking ahead, the Chamber intends to collaborate with the incoming government to develop a government accountability scorecard, ensuring accountability and transparency. Additionally, we will seek representation on key government boards and authorities, as we believe our members bring valuable expertise that can help shape effective policies and initiatives. These forums require months of coordination, and I'd like to acknowledge the tremendous efforts of Will and our chamber staff who have worked diligently behind the scenes. I'd also like to express our gratitude to Ashley Furniture and Home Store, Foster's, CUC, and Logic for their generous sponsorship, which has made these forums possible. Additionally, we appreciate our media partners, Cayman Mall Road, Cayman Live TV, and ICCI FM for broadcasting tonight's event. We are live streaming the forums, making it easier than ever for voters to tune in from the comfort of their homes. We hope this added accessibility encourages even greater participation in the democratic process. And now, it's time to begin. I'll turn the proceedings over to Will Panu, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, who will serve as tonight's moderator. Will outline the forum's rules and introduce our Bodden Town West candidates.
Good evening, candidates.
Good evening. Good evening.
Here are the rules for tonight's forum. Each candidate will be asked a series of questions. You'll have 2 minutes to elaborate on each question if you choose to do so. I will notify you when the timer has elapsed with a ring, one ring of the ringer. That means at the 2-minute mark, it asks you to wrap up your thought or response to that question. Each candidate will be allowed to answer the question without interruption and is free to differ with the opinion or position of a fellow candidate during your allotted response time. And at the conclusion of the forum, each candidate will be allowed 2.5 minutes to deliver a closing statement. I'd now like to introduce the candidates for Bodden Town West. Osborne Bodden is running as a Caymanian Community Party candidate for Bodden Town West. He's a dedicated Bodden Town native, businessman, and experienced public servant. Twice elected to Parliament for Bodden Town West, he first served in 2005 and again in 2013. During his tenure, he held key roles, including Minister of Health, Sports and Culture, and later Minister of Community Affairs, Youth and Sports. He also chaired the Public Accounts Committee and more recently the Health Services Authority Board for over 3 years. Mr. Bodden's political focus is always centered on community development, infrastructure improvements, and ensuring that constituents have better access to their representatives. He has consistently pushed for traffic solutions, enhanced public spaces, and stronger engagement between elected officials and the people they serve. Outside of politics, Mr. Bodden brings deep financial expertise as a trained accountant and insurance specialist, having held senior roles in the insurance industry. He also manages his family's long-standing businesses, including Lorna's Rubis and Grape Tree Cafe, pillars of the local economy founded by his late mother in the 1950s. Running under the Caymanian Community Party, Mr. Bodden is committed to putting Caymanians first. His priorities for Bodden Town West include establishing a district council, holding regular community meetings, and ensuring timely responses to residents. With a proven track record in both public service and business, Mr. Bodden offers experience, accountable leadership. He is ready to address key issues like cost of living and infrastructure while fostering a more inclusive and responsive government for all Caymanians. Welcome, Mr. Bodden.
Thank you.
Mr. Heyman Rankin is running as the Cayman Islands National Party candidate for Bodden Town West. He's a proud generational Caymanian and a dedicated advocate for the people of the Cayman Islands. Raised in Northwood by his parents Kent Biggie Rankin and Vicky Frederick, he remains deeply rooted in the community, is now raising his own family in Bodden Town with his wife Cherie and their 3 children. His strong Caymanian values and commitment to public service drive his vision for transformational leadership that benefits all Caymanians. A qualified attorney at law with a background in business management, Mr. Rankin was admitted to practice at a top international law firm in 2018. He later joined the Office of Ombudsman, where he became the youngest acting deputy ombudsman in Cayman's history, leading investigations into government agencies and the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service to ensure accountability, transparency, and justice. His work helped to shape policies and legislation to protect the public. Mr. Rankin served as Associate Director at Cayman Finance, where he promoted fintech, drove economic growth, and positioned Cayman as a leader in the global digital economy. Committed to empowering Caymanians, he has mentored and trained many in financial literacy and digital assets, ensuring they are prepared to navigate in an evolving global market. Beyond his career, Mr. Rankin has served as chairman of the Pharmacy Council, a member of the Health Practice Commission, and on the Cayman Islands Cadet Corps Committee. With a strong foundation in governance, a commitment to accountability, and a track record of ensuring fairness and transparency, he is ready to serve with principled leadership, integrity, and forward-thinking solutions. Welcome, Mr. Rankin.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Chris Saunders is running as an independent candidate for Bodden Town West. He has lived in Bodden Town West for 40 years with his wife Shawnette and their 3 children. First elected to Parliament in 2017, Mr. Saunders has built a strong record of advocating for Caymanians' health, financial stability, and economic resilience. He has introduced 54 parliamentary motions, more than any other member of Parliament, with 50 passed unanimously. His work includes pushing for equal maternity leave, free health care for children and seniors, removal of import duties on essential family items, and protections for Caymanians facing foreclosure. From April 2021 to March 2023, Mr. Saunders served as Deputy Premier, Minister of Finance, and Minister of Labor. Key achievements during that time include delivering 5.2% GDP growth in 2022, free school lunches, utility bill relief for 20,000 homes, expanded Synico insurance options, and a $100 million line of credit to address housing needs. He also oversaw reductions in Caymanian unemployment and a drop in status grants to their lowest level since 2010. Mr. Saunders is a certified public accountant with over 20 years of senior management experience, known for well-researched, costed motions. His priorities include ensuring the 2026 rollout of free health care, establishing the Cayman Islands Mortgage Company, completing local civic projects, and supporting traffic relief that protects the environment. A former Meals on Wheels volunteer and prison educator, Mr. Saunders brings a deep belief in community dignity and unity. As an independent candidate, he stands by the principle that the best of Cayman can still fix what's wrong because we are all one Cayman. Welcome, Mr. Saunders.
Thank you, Will.
At this time, we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we return, we'll begin the questioning of our Bodden Town West candidates. Please stay tuned.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.
Decided to run in this year's election, and how you intend to represent the people of Bodden Town West if elected.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Chairman. Good evening, Cayman, Bodden Town, fellow candidates, and the Chamber of Commerce who are hosting us this evening. In regards to why I'm running in this election, I was encouraged strongly to, as someone with experience, to come out and represent the constituency of Bodden Town West, because people felt they were not being adequately represented by the incumbent. So that is my main reason for running in this election. Now, I see myself as someone of a bridge generation, meaning that I know the old Cayman, that is the mosquito-ridden Cayman, the non-electrical time, the non-paved roads, all that stuff. I come from that as a youngster to this modern Cayman. And with that bridge generation in mind, I feel that I can bridge some of the needs of the constituency. I would like to be a bridge between the neighborhood of Bodden Town West and the national government. I would also like to be a bridge between our rich heritage and our vast potential. I would like to be a bridge between our community and the resources it needs. I would also like to be a bridge between our children and the hope for their future. A bridge between our vulnerable and our elderly and the safety, support, and dignity that they deserve. A lot is broken right now in Cayman, and Bodden Towners and Caymanians know this. We are being sidelined at work. There is runaway spending in government, as we've heard about. The national infrastructure needs are unaddressed, such as hospitals, primary schools, and the main police station, to name but a few. Traffic is making our lives miserable. Housing is in short supply and expensive, and the cost of living is putting a lot of pressure on our communities. So here I am, folks, ready and willing to work and make a positive difference in Bodden Town West and these islands. Yours truly, Osborne Ozzy Bodden.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden. Mr. Rankin?
Thank you for having me here this evening to the chambers. Thank you to the listening audience for tuning in. Good evening, all. My name is Haymond Michael Rankin, and I am running in this upcoming election because I genuinely feel that Caymanians have been failed for far too long by both past and present politicians. And unfortunately to me, it doesn't seem as if these failures have been done on accident. It feels to me that they have been done by design, by decades worth of poor planning, by decades worth of self-serving politicians, and unacceptable poor leadership. That is just my beliefs. I was raised on good old-fashioned Caymanian values: love, respect, and striving for greatness. These are values that I do not see in the political arena today. I have a young family, and there are a lot of young families out there who cannot afford another 4 years of the same old, same old. My time as the youngest deputy ombudsman really opened my eyes to seeing what's going on in government, in the police, and in the private sector. And it really makes me ask a question. Has the lives of Caymanians gotten any better under the past leadership that we've had? The answer is no. And the track records speak for themselves. Cost of living is high. Health care out of reach. Our youth are failing in schools. Under who leadership? Not mine's. I am ready to serve the government of the Cayman Islands to provide leadership that cares for the people and puts Caymanians first. This is what I'm ready to do, and this is why I'm putting my hat in the race to represent Bodden Town West. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Mr. Saunders?
I am running simply because the job is not done. The special interest control of our government, our policymakers, our public servants is too much to bear. Tonight, Cayman will get a clear choice. You're going to see the special interests at work tonight. You're going to see all the work that the consultants put into place, and then watch everyone comes inside there and read off everything that people give them. And that is exactly what is wrong with the parliament, and I've seen it over and over. People come in and just give people speeches to read, and that is it. And they don't have no conviction or commitment to what it is. That's words that are coming out of their mouth. We have serious problems in Cayman right now. We have, in Bodden Town West, our average voter age of 51. Nationally is 53. In the next 12 years or so, we're going to have 14,000 Caymanians that are going to be hitting the age of 65. And we're going to have a healthcare crisis in this country. When I look at the central government unfunded medical liability that is contractually due to civil servants that have basically provided their time in government and their families, it's $2.4 billion. When you look at government unfunded pension liability, it's more than $350 million. Central government alone has unfunded liabilities of $2.8 billion. And when you add in the other government entities like HSA, Port Authority, Cayman Airways, Turtle Farm, is another $1 billion. So we're talking about $4 billion in unfunded liabilities across the government. When we now look at the Cayman private sector, where we had just in 2023, 2,000 Caymanians that the government spent $78 million to assist, who had little or no health care coverage. From that standpoint, and if we continue in this trend, in the next 12 years, that's a $300 million bill. The government itself, or central government, may not even be in a position to help our own people. So this is why we need to start putting in the process, lay the foundations today to start building a better Cayman tomorrow, and make sure we keep the special interests in this country in check.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders.
Mr. Rankin, the second round is going to deal with national issues. What 3 national issues would you seek to address if elected?
Thank you for the question. The 3 national issues I would seek to address is accountable leadership, education reform, and cost of living. And given how much revenue that Cayman actually produce on an annual basis, I feel like there's no reason these things should not be addressed. There's a lot of issues, but for me, those are the main 3. Now, I feel wholeheartedly that accountable leadership is one of the most important things that we need to address. There's no reason we should have so many ministers in the news for conduct-related issues, ranging from abuse of public office to assaulting and harassing women and threatening the public. Our children need a better example of what to aspire to. And let me be clear, accountability, it matters. The laws of this country are not suggestions, they're standards. Those standards apply to all of us, regardless of who you are, who you're for, what your last name is, or how many statistics you could spit off of the top of your head. It doesn't matter. The law is there for a reason. Caymanians deserve a system that works fairly for all Caymanians. We deserve a system that does not work selectively. We need a ministerial code of conduct that is fit for purpose and is enforced. And furthermore, the Auditor General made it very clear that the government don't know how to spend money. So it's good to know all these statistics. But it's another thing to know what to actually do and how to get it done. Our government needs to be held accountable, and we need a government in force that does not only look after the people, but knows what to do to get the job done. And for me, that's my most important national priority out of the three that I've mentioned.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Saunders.
Thank you very much. The three national issues I'd like to see addressed is the quality of life for our people, the diversification of our economy, and modernizing our infrastructure. When I speak about the quality of life for our people, we're talking about issues, a holistic approach in terms of dealing with cost of living, immigration reform, and also immigration enforcement, which is key, healthcare, and education. When we're talking about diversification of our economy, we need to recognize that financial services, our largest pillar, has been declining in terms of the number of jobs it has been providing. In the latest spring 2024 survey, it was down to 7.7%. A few years ago, it was high as 10% in terms of the workforce. So from that standpoint, we recognize that we need to start looking at other areas. I think we have the infrastructure where we can do a lot more in the film industry. We can also do a lot more in terms of agriculture, and we can also do a lot more in terms of the shipping registry. With regards to modernizing infrastructure, one of the things that is key is actually, one, getting in a new submarine cable and also the East-West Arterial. Those are key. The East-West Arterial will actually reduce people time in traffic and give them more time to be productive and give them more time for their families. And also in terms of the undersea cable, this is one of the biggest threats to this country. Because just recently, the Maya 1 cable, we have two cable that connects Cayman to the world. The Maya 1 cable is down for 2 months. And again, because of the special interest control in this country, despite the last government setting aside $30 million in the budget to start this project, the special interest in this country made sure it didn't happen, so the rich friends can continue to own the infrastructure. And this is what this election has always been about. The rich people and the special interest who is hell-bent on making sure that the very system that made them rich continue to be rich, and the people, the same system that made the people suffer and struggle, continue to make them suffer and struggle. And this is what this election is about. These rich people coming in, financing these campaigns, they have not been influenced by the amount of money that Elon must have spent to get Donald Trump elected, and now they've basically gone out and just hired a whole pile of people to run to maintain their interests. So those are the kind of things that we need to deal with in this country.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Mr. Bodden.
Thank you. The three areas that I would, it's so many, but the three are cost of living, the traffic situation, and education. I'd like to drill down a little bit more into the cost of living because it is a difficult one, but it's something that impacts every one of us when we have to balance between paying CUC or paying a mortgage, or paying rent versus putting food on the table for the family. I will definitely support the increase in the minimum wage that was recommended by the committee that was set up for that purpose. I don't know why it was not, but I feel that it was self-serving, why it was not put in place. I think also that we need to look at bringing in a Consumer Protection Act that will give the consumers some recourse when they go to buy products, because right now, employers have protections. You have the chamber, you have other organizations, but who protects the consumer? They suffer the most when it comes to paying the price at the counter. The cost of fuel drives the economy, and that is something that we have to definitely look at. We have a power company or two power companies, one in the BRAC, one here, that are driven by fossil fuels, and we all know that is something that in the end renewable energy will replace. But our action in that area, to me, has not been fast enough. Wherever the fault lies, we need to speed that up. We need to work in conjunction with those companies. I think we also need to break up those monopolies and encourage other companies in who look more towards renewable energy. And maybe that will, once we have the competition, things will get better. Agricultural production, definitely, rather than importing everything, have our own support and grow. We see what agriculture showed recently. We have wonderful products. And we have to, I think, something out-of-the-box idea would be a virtual marketplace for financial industry where people are allowed to compete, banks, insurance, and you go in there like Expedia and you shop around. So those are just some ideas for bringing down the cost of living.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden.
Mr. Saunders, we'll start with you for question number 3. The next 3 questions will cover the Chamber's pillar of advancing quality of life. Many candidates have shared ideas on how to reduce the high cost of living during this campaign. What specific measures would you advocate for to make life more affordable for residents in the Cayman Islands?
Well, thank you very much for that. Some of you would have, some of you may be aware. If you look at the consumer price index, the 2 areas that basically drive the cost the most is housing and utilities and transportation costs, which actually accounts for roughly actually 49.6% to be exact of the CPI. One of the things that we looked at, 33% or 34% of that is housing costs. And one of the things that we recognize is that the mortgage rate and having these variable rates running all over the place is something that is unsustainable. That's the reason why I carried a motion to Parliament, and it was unanimously accepted to set up the Cayman Islands Mortgage Company that can actually offer fixed rate mortgages to people and also reverse mortgages for some of our seniors. Fuel is another issue that we wanted to deal with. We set up a fuel committee to deal with it. And the irony about it is when I sit down and hear, like my good friend there on the far right, talk about fuel prices, but yet you make your money from selling fuel. This is the level of hypocrisy that we have in the political realm. You can't be making money from one thing, and then what they're talking about is driving up the cost when you're bringing your profit in from it. And that is exactly what is wrong with Cayman politics. The other issue that we need to look at is in terms of food. One of the things that we looked at was a government discount store. Again, because of the special interest, we didn't get anywhere with that. But I just want the public to thank Minister J for the work that he has done in terms of pushing food security and everything else. We had reached out to the Caribbean Development Bank. We were actually on our way to getting a lot of work done on food security. Unfortunately, when I left the government, the new Minister of Finance, who finances one of these parties, decided that that was not something of a priority, and they just dismissed the recommendation and what it was that the Caribbean Development Bank wanted to offer us. So, my friends, I can tell you, there are a lot of solutions available. And one of the reasons why many of them have not been done is the very same people that are profiting from this have no intention of changing the system. And it is sad because we have the talent in this country, we have the expertise in this country, we have people who are willing to do it in this country, but the problem is too many people are getting rich from the system and they don't want to change it.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Mr. Bodden?
Thank you. It's very interesting to hear the incumbent speak about my livelihood. I don't think I'm getting rich from selling fuel. You got the wrong person there. The people that are making a lot of money from that are the people who sell the fuel to us. I think I'm entitled to have a business, which my family has had for the past, 60 plus years. So that is not something that we wish to go into any further. But I answered, surprisingly, on the first question. The question before this, I answered about the cost of living. But there are other areas that we can look at in terms of bringing costs down. We can look regionally for fuel as well as other goods within the Central American and South American region. Right now we import just about everything from the U.S., about 90% of our goods. We see what's going on in the U.S. right now with the tariffs and the chaos that's going on within the U.S. economy. So I think that we need to be very careful to rely solely on the U.S. We need to take some of those eggs out of that basket and look around and see what we can do to bring the level of cost down that will impact our people. In terms of insurance, that's another big area, and of course the banks are charging a ton of money. No matter what you do now, they charge you to use the ATM. I mean, we have to talk to banks and figure out, they can't just be doing this and then reporting huge profits at the end of the year. It's like, well, we're almost making a mockery of the Caymanians. So we have to really focus and look at what's going on. Insurance companies don't make a ton of money because of the reinsurance market. But at the same time, we have to make sure that they offer value for money in terms of various products, because there are some things that they don't want to cover, and if they do, they charge exorbitant prices. So that's just a few more ideas on the cost of living.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden. Mr. Rankin?
Thank you. I find it very interesting that the incumbent keeps on referring to special interests and, all the things that have been stopped. But, that person was in the government. The CUC renegotiation that could have taken place could have happened had he said something, had he done something. But nothing was done. And now we're locked in. Some of the things that I would be suggesting to help reduce the cost of living would be, for one, removing the CUC fuel factor. Another thing many of you may not know, CUC has a monopoly, but that's actually only on the distribution of energy. There's no monopoly on the generation of energy. So again, I asked this question: what has the past politicians and current done to make it easier for us Caymanians to generate electricity? One of the easiest things that could have been done was fast tracking the ability for individuals to put solar panels on their homes. But instead, we're bogged down with bureaucracy, red tape, in order to simply put 2 panels on our roof to generate electricity to get our bills down. That would be one of the things that I and the Cayman Islands National Party, a party that has Cayman's interest at best and at heart. Another thing that we would be seeking to do is establish direct regional trade with countries in the region. This is something it's so funny. When I came fresh out of the University of Tampa, one of the first things I brought to my family was, guys, let's start a shipping company that moves goods from Central and South America. Only to be told by the Agriculture Department that, well, if you want to import from those countries, you have to pay for us to go there and certify that place you're getting the food from. Really? That place sends stuff to America, and when it goes to America, they mark up the price 4, 5, 10 times the value, and then ship it back to us. There are a lot of things that we can do from a common sense approach that the past and present politicians, they talk a good game, but they don't deliver. We will.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin.
Mr. Bodden, we'll start round 4 with you. This one has to do with public transportation. Public transportation systems are amongst the most expensive services for governments to operate around the world. In contrast, Cayman's current transportation system is privately owned, licensed by the government, and operated by Caymanians, meaning the government does not directly bear the cost of either maintenance or staffing. What, if any, reforms do you propose to improve the current public transportation system?
Thank you. Public transport is key to the issue that we are having with traffic. It's one of the many components, but it is one of the most important ones. I believe that the current public transportation system that we have is not fit for purpose. I think that the minibuses run up and down all over the place, but they don't cover the Cayman Islands the way that they should be. You don't know what time they're coming, and if you wanted to get somewhere on time, you're not going to go out there and try and catch a bus because you just don't know even if it's going to show up. So we have to have a serious look at a reform of public transport, whether it becomes a government-owned entity, whether government should take it over, or whether we should get more involved in terms of working with the private sector to make it more efficient. But what we do need, we need better buses, we need an efficient system of operation that is on time, and we need to make sure that we cover the Cayman Islands, because I know for a fact that a lot of these buses don't go in some areas, and people, if we're going to say to people, oh, you can't own a car, for instance, because that's cluttering up the roads, how are you going to say that if they don't have a bus that can take them back and forth to work on time? So right now, everyone that comes to Cayman, wants four wheels to get on the road. So we have a myriad of these little tiny cars running around. Everybody, especially, the people who are doing, whether it's gardening or domestic or whatever, they're jumping and they're getting cars. They haven't really driven before. A lot of accidents are occurring. This is all part of this inefficiency that we have with the public transport system. So it's an area that is very near and dear to me. I feel that it is, because I did mention that traffic was one of my main concerns, and I feel that we need to create a proper bus route. Some of these wide roads we should have a bus route where the bus can actually get from A to B on time, and people will then use it, and we should see an improvement in the traffic flow in the country.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden. Mr. Rankin, do you need me to repeat the question?
Sure, go for it.
Public transportation systems are among the most expensive services for governments to operate around the world. In contrast, Cayman's current transportation system is privately owned, licensed by the government and operated by Caymanians, meaning the government does not directly bear any cost for either maintenance or staffing. What, if any, reforms do you propose to improve the current public transportation system?
Thank you for the question. Our past and present governments have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in consultancy fees in the private sector to answer that very question you just asked. And you know what happens after they spend all that money? They get a report, and you know what we get? No results. What we actually get is a report on the shelf collecting dust. We know what to do, so why not do it? Instead of investing in a master ground transportation plan, government in the past and in the present want to waste our money. The Auditor General makes that very clear in her recent report. Why are they wasting our money on ministerial pet projects that make no sense? I don't understand. And as a result, we're sitting in traffic for hours on end, hours we cannot get back, hours we could be spending with our families, loving our loved ones, developing ourselves. In terms of traffic solutions, I would propose in the short term that we increase the vehicle licensing fees, for starters, to work permit holders, to discourage the importation of vehicles. We need to start getting cars off the road. I would also advocate for one vehicle per household, and they must be purchased locally. We need to have a mandatory national school bus system for private and public sector. In the medium term, we need to have an island-wide ground transportation system and provide incentives for people to actually use it. In the long term, what we also need to do is focus on bringing business into Bodden town. Everybody goes from east to west. They want to spend $1 billion to take people from the east to the west. Why not disperse government? Why not look at it in a more holistic approach instead of wasting money on vanity projects and not acting when we have the answers?
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Mr. Saunders, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I'm actually looking at the question. And public transportation systems are among the most expensive services for government to operate around the world. You know what is expensive? You know what else is expensive for government to operate around the world? Police, prison, schools, hospital. These are things that the government need to get into. And in case anyone forget, the government is already in the transportation business. What do you think Cayman Airways is? So one of the things that we need to look at and recognize is that this is now a problem that we need to address. It can no longer be a private solution. It has to be a combination of both private and public partnership. So the government needs to start looking at mass transportation in terms of mass transit. The government also needs to be looking at moving some of their government services out of the Georgetown and into the eastern districts. The government needs to start looking at public servants actually working from home to some extent, and also encourage private sector to do the same too in some situation where people can work from home if they don't need to go into town. But if you look at the traffic issue, it has always been around the school times. When school is out, the traffic isn't that bad. And I think what we need to start looking at is getting that mass transit in. And I can suggest something to be extremely bold. We need to start looking at ferries too. And also, if you really want to go extra bold, let's look at the Red Bay area. We need to put an overpass over there. That is the narrowest part on the island, and don't care how many roads we build, don't care how wide lanes we put in, at the end of the day, everything's going to bottleneck in the Red Bay area. And we're going to need to start looking at overpass. So we need to start looking a little bit, working on more smarter and more with the private sector to get this done. But what we have done is that we have left it to the private sector to do, and all of a sudden, we are in this mess. So this belief that government can't get anything right, here's something that the private sector does that government doesn't do, and look what has happened to it. So now we need the government to step in and take this more serious and give people a better quality of life and being less stuck up in traffic. I have a situation right now in Bodden Town West where if you don't get on the main road by 6:15, you're assault. People can't get out of Beach Bay, they can't get out of Northward, they can't get out of Wilty, because people coming from the eastern part of the island, east and north side and Bodden Town East, is coming through my constituents, and my people can't get on the road. So yes, we need east-west arterial, but we need a proper mass transit.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders.
Thank you, candidates. We've gone through the first cohort questions. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we return, the next series of 4 questions will be asked of the candidates. Please stay tuned.
EV public charging can be a bit tricky to navigate if you're new to the game. But fear not. Here's a little 101 on all things public charging at your CUC charge station. The first tip is to get the mobile app up and ready on your phone before you charge your EV at the charging location. You can scan the QR code to load the app from sitting in your car. Download the mobile app, register a charge account, load money into your charge wallet. You must have a minimum of US $5 balance in your charge wallet to begin a charging session. Scan the QR code again to start a charging session using this charger. You can also enter the station ID number into the app. Follow the instructions on the mobile app to initiate your charging session. Now you're ready to charge your EV. Select either the right or the left charge plug. Plug your car in and make sure it shows as charging on your dashboard. Charging for 1 hour will give you up to 35 miles of charge. Charging to 80% optimizes battery life and reduces the risk of overcharging. So in that time, you can shop or go to work or chat with fellow EV owners. It's a real community out there. Great to see you, Maya. Happy charging, everyone. See you on the road.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for the constituency of Bodden West. We've gone through the first 4 questions. Now we're turning to the 5th question, which we're dealing with healthcare, and I'll turn it back over to Amari Corbin.
Thanks, Will. Mr. Rankin, we'll start with you for question number 5. Healthcare remains one of the largest expenses for both Caymanian families and the government. What reforms, if any, would you propose to reduce costs and improve access to quality care, particularly for children, retirees, and individuals who are currently uninsurable?
Thank you for that question. The amount of homes that I've been in and seen elderly folk who are suffering is atrocious. And I don't understand why our past and present governments have not done something to address this holistically from ages ago. But I really think it's deep-rooted in a lack of just not caring. But I am with the Cayman Islands National Party, and we care. And we want to deliver the change that Cayman needs to address our healthcare system. So here are some of the solutions that I will be proposing. For starters, we need to create public awareness programs regarding healthy lifestyle choices, including diet and physical activity. Start the problem before it even becomes a problem. We need to reform the Health Insurance Commission to better regulate premiums and ensure fair treatment for seniors and those with disabilities. We need to expand the segregated insurance fund to ensure that it also covers elderly and not just the indigents. We need to replace the flat contributions on a fair percentage base, not the $10 or $20 flat fee. A worker and a laborer should not be paying the same amount as a banker, a lawyer, and an accountant. It's just not fair. We need to ensure that all the funds collected in that fund goes to a protected escrow and not just government's general revenue. We will also look at the 2018 draft senior health plan and put that into action. We need to also establish a national emergency response system for seniors. A lot of them live alone. What are they going to do if an emergency happens? We need to also introduce a national captive insurance solution to help stabilize premiums and provide coverage to pre-existing conditions. We also need to make it mandatory for our health providers to ensure that mental health care are increased and the yearly allowance is more. Right now, it's only at $800 for the year. With all the other issues the past government has created in our society, it has led to a lot of societal issues, and people's mental health is straining. And we need to expand Seneco coverage and explore regional providers for healthcare. This is long overdue, I think, and if the National Party gets into power, we will address the healthcare crisis that Cayman faces. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Mr. Saunders.
My friends, you have just heard what foreign political consultants sound like. Let me give you the reality, because first of all, the segregated insurance fund, what he just mentioned, is not what it's designed for. It was actually set up to offset 50% of the costs of government providing health care for the indigent. That fund was created more than 20 years ago. Back then, the government collected $3 million from it, and the cost of covering indigent was $6 million. 20 years later, the government is only collecting a little over $5 million and spending $78 million. So the $5 million versus the $78 million, that is completely rubbish at the end of the day. So just to put that in context. My friends, here's the reality. If you go and look at CIMA's report that look at the healthcare industry and look at the profit, the last full year that CIMA reported, the total profit in the healthcare industry was $19 million across all the different healthcare providers. Of that $19 million, Seneco was actually $10 million. So you're talking about all the other health insurance providers only getting $9 million profit. And this is what happens when you got aging population. We have seen what happened to Caymanians and other people when Generali pulled out and people got stuck with the pre-existing conditions. So we need to accept the fact, as I said in my opening, that we have an average voter age of 53. What we need to do now is national health insurance. His party leader actually wanted to privatize Seneco because they actually had a problem with Seneco being what it is. And now all of a sudden they found religion. They killed Gilbert McLean 20 years ago when he set up Seneco, the very same private sector people. And if it wasn't for Seneco, many people wouldn't have no health insurance coverage today. So what we need right now is a national solution. They had a problem with me proposing a 2% property tax on foreigners to help pay for it. Spain did 100%. Nobody said can hear. And that has been the issue. So I'm going to tell you right now, and I say this to the people of the Cayman Islands, the only people who will be looking out for you is going to be us. It won't be no fancy exchanger that coming in. At the end of the day, you need one thing, you need cash to care. It's going to take money. And the only people who generally care about people is going to be us here in the Cayman Islands, and stop depending on any foreign person or even foreign consultants to come in here and tell us what to do. And that has been the problem.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Mr. Bodden.
Thank you. Healthcare costs are increasing, and in Cayman, our indigent and our young people are mostly at risk because the market basically is really, really tight in terms of what you can get in the reinsurance market. We need to attract more people into our market. We have to go on a marketing campaign, I believe, as a government, and attract more reinsurers and insurance into the Cayman market. But the big thing that can really help us in terms of expenses with healthcare is to take the STEP survey seriously. We have a very unhealthy population. NCDs, which is non-communicable diseases, that is your cholesterol, your blood pressure, and your diabetes, they are prevalent in these islands, and they cause tremendous health issues. And this is what most people are showing up with, whether it's private or public, at the doctor's offices for. We have to ensure that we take some of the duties off healthier foods and ensure that people can get access to them at affordable prices. Right now, a healthy diet is a very expensive diet. And we have to educate our people as to what they should be eating. If you go to a health conference, you come out of there shaking, you go and eat a salad, but of course you forget. And that doesn't get across to everybody that needs to hear it. We have to start making sure that our kids from school are eating healthy. They're not just popping out and getting fast food. They are carrying healthy lunches. The schools have healthy food, and that will help us a lot. But we do have some serious situations in terms of the cost of health in this country, and there's only so much that Seneco can do. We do have a certain amount of already for uninsured and for indigents, a certain amount of free coverage, both on the kids side and on the elderly side. But there's only so much government can do with the expenses that this thing costs us annually. So we have to look at preventative means.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden.
For round 6, we'll be dealing with one of the Chamber's pillars, which is building a future-ready workforce. Mr. Saunders, I'll start this one with you. The work permit process. What specific reforms would you support to improve efficiency of the work permit system while maintaining appropriate oversight and protecting opportunities for Caymanians?
I'm sitting in this room, I got deja vu. Because this was a question I had when I was Minister of Labour in this very room with your members. The issue isn't about reforming work permit to make it more efficient. And I made that clear to your members then. It's actually about enforcing the existing laws to give Caymanians opportunities. I got crucified when the Compass headline read 10,600 work permits got deferred over the 10 months. You know what happened as a result of that? 1,007 Caymanians moved from being unemployed to being employed. We had the lowest Caymanian unemployment rate of 3.6% in 20 years as a result of that initiative. I remember that night in that caucus like it was yesterday, when my own members crucified me for taking that hardline position to give our people opportunities. And I want to thank Bernie Bush and I want to thank Kenneth Bryan for standing beside me that night. So it's not about making the permit system efficient to make permits process easier. It's about making it difficult to get Caymanians opportunities. And one of the things, if we want to be brutally honest with it, the biggest culprits, and this is where the issue, the biggest culprit is a lot of the business people in this country. And that is evident by the amount of, we have hundreds of companies that we have fined for breaching immigration laws in this country, where they've not been given Cayman opportunities. So I'm not about making the system efficient, I'm about making it more difficult and giving Cayman opportunities, if you want the brutal answer. Because at the end of the day, that is who I work for. I work for the people of the Cayman Islands. And as long as voters in this country can't get opportunities, people who can't vote won't be getting any opportunities. It's as simple as that. So I'm not about making it efficient, I want to make it more difficult and give our people opportunities. And that's my answer.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Mr. Bodden.
The work permit system is fairly straightforward, but it's the abuses that take place within the system. Work has been set up to try and deal with that and separate it from border control. But at the end of the day, if you do not have proper enforcement of whatever system it is that you put in place as a government, you run the risk of it failing. We have so many examples of abuse of the work permit system. You have people that stay at home and take out permits and farm out workers and collect part of their salary that they earn. You have people that take advantage of many workers in terms of them paying their own permits. And all of this at the disadvantage to our Caymanian people. And we are here as a government, the Caymanian Community Party. Caymanian was used in it specifically to say that we are putting Caymanians first. And the work permit system is something that we have to look at and make sure that the abuses stop and we weed out those people who are causing us problems in this country, and we have to look carefully at categories of work permits and maybe put some moratoriums in place, especially in the white-collar area, for our people to have upward mobility. Our people are being stifled by the influx of people into this country, and we have to take a serious stance, otherwise we're going to be there doing the same thing and expecting different results, and it's not going to happen. We need our young people coming into jobs. We need people who are in jobs progressing up the ladder, and people just not just sitting there taking advantage of their tenure and bringing in their friends, and our people cannot get anywhere. This is bigger than just work permits. This is us looking after our own and ensuring that our people can prosper in these Cayman Islands that we have worked hard to build.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden. Mr. Rankin.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Deja vu was the word used by the incumbent. And it's funny that he feel like he's been here before, because personally, I feel like the whole public has heard all of the political rhetoric you're hearing right now before as well. But where are the results? I don't see them. Caymanians are ready to work, but the system is not working for them. We have nearly 40,000 foreign work permits issued, while our own employment rate amongst Caymanians is skyrocketing under the current leadership and past leadership. And what's worse, too many Caymanians are told this statement right here: you're not experienced enough. Even when they're extremely smart and suitable for the job. We've all heard it before. He's smart, he's qualified, but he hasn't been here before, so best leave it to the old boys. Does that sound familiar? The same things that are being said in the political arena is the same rhetoric used in the private sector to keep Caymanians out of jobs. When will it stop? It will stop when the Cayman Islands National Party is in power, when I have your vote on the 30th of April. These are the solutions we have for employment. We plan to implement a real national workforce development plan, working with the industry, educators, and government to match Caymanians for jobs of the future. We will introduce a foreign worker opportunity fee that will be used to penalize any of these employers who overly rely on foreign labor. And all of those fees will be put towards educating Caymanians and getting them work, getting them ready to work. We will also amend the immigration law to guarantee jobs for Caymanians, and they have fair access into those jobs. We will also fully resource work to make sure they have the resources needed to enforce the law. And most importantly, we will demand results. We won't complain and make excuses.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin.
Mr. Bodden, we'll start with you for question number 7. The demand for qualified labor in both public and private sectors continues to exceed the number of Caymanians available to fill current and future roles driven by economic growth. What reforms, if any, do you support to address this labor gap while ensuring opportunities for Caymanians remain a priority?
Thank you. Well, this is the crux of the matter right here. We have developed the Cayman Islands, unfortunately, that our people are not sitting in the driver's seat. We've developed it for others to come here and control and keep Caymanians down. Now, if you look at Singapore, they have a similar setup, but they're the reverse. Their Singaporeans are in charge, and they bring the foreigners in to support the economy that they have. Not us. We have it in reverse order, and sadly, not the right way around. Caymanians are suffering. And every day we look, more and more people are coming in and taking jobs that Caymanians can't get. Why? Yes, we have failed on the education front. We have not adequately prepared our people, but there's a lot less of us. There's 1/3 of us, 1/3 less than what you have of foreign labor. We have to do a better job and make sure that our Caymanians get the opportunity to train. Those who want to work are working and are given the chance to go upwardly mobile. Now, one of the things that will help this is something that I've been talking about on the campaign trail, and that is vocational training. I would like to see a trade school in this country because that is so important. I don't want to hear about a little bit of trade over there and a little bit of trade there. I want to see a full-fledged trade school. Partner with something like the Hard Institute of Jamaica. Get our masons, our carpenters, our electricians, our plumbers, our tilers. Get them trained up. It will save us on bringing a lot of people into this country, and Caymanians will have good paying jobs. We have to make sure that when you are in the workplace, there is succession planning, and it's real. It's not just lip service. This all takes enforcement. and we have to make sure that we boost work and we boost whatever agency, whether it's a task force that we set up specifically for this, that goes in and makes spot visits here and spot visit there, tell them we're coming in to talk to a number of employees. We have to get serious in this country to let the people know the same old CMO cannot continue. We are here for our people, and under the TCCP, that is the approach that we will take.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden. Mr. Rankin?
Thank you for the question. I think it's really simple. Demand is exceeding supply. But I look at this a bit differently. Are we actually preparing our children to fill the demand needs? I think the answer to that is a resounding no. Now, we've just heard about a technical vocational school, and I'm pretty sure the incumbent's going to harp on about that shortly. But these are promises that we've heard before. These are ideas we've heard before. Where are they? Cayman education system has been neglected for far too long, and the data proves it. Only 36% of our high school students earned 5 or more level 2 passes in English and in math in 2017. Under the current incumbent, it's gotten even worse. Most of the government schools are still rated satisfactory, and our youth are walking into a system unprepared to work. But not every child is academically inclined, and that's okay. My own father, Biggie Rankin, he built his business, his empire on a skilled trade, and he learned that from watching foreign laborers. Many of you may not know this, but my father was dyslexic. He only learned to read after meeting my mother, Vicky. He didn't have a piece of paper to tell him he was qualified. He had drive, he learned skills, and he seized opportunity. We need to prepare the future of Cayman, the future Caymanians to do the same. And I want to advocate for these following things to enable us to do so. We need to start screening of students from year 1 for dyslexia, ADHD, and learning disabilities. We need to replace the level 1 the level 1 diploma with a TVET training from early on. We need to expose students to careers from year 5, whether in the trades or the finances. And yes, we must teach our kids that they can dominate in the Bitcoin and blockchain technology. It is the future. The future is here. We have an issue with demand. I understand that. But if we prepare our children for the jobs of the future, we won't have that issue anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Mr. Saunders?
You know, I love about campaigns, and I love listening to these guys with their political consultants prepared messages to come and wax lyrical. Here are the facts. Mr. Bodden said that we fail on the educational front. I've heard that excuse over and over and over being used to deny Caymanian opportunities, saying that something is wrong with our local education system. So then I ask the question, why is it that even after our Caymanian kids come back from foreign universities in North America and Europe, they still can't get jobs? Is that something is now wrong with the educational system in North America and Europe? Because the same excuses now, what's the excuse then? Then you talk about the Art Institute of Jamaica. Funny enough, in 2 years, I only took 1 trip as minister, and that was actually to the Art Institute of Jamaica. And one of the things that we wanted to do was actually partner with Michael Miles, who is one of the colleagues here from my good friend. But unfortunately for poor Michael Miles and his program, the chair of the Education Council at the time, his party leader, wouldn't even recognize the program that Michael Miles had. So it's kind of ironic now that all of a sudden they have all of these technical stuff, but when he was chair of the Education Council, he basically didn't do nothing to help Michael Miles in that regard. So when we're talking about opportunities for Caymanians, I can tell you the main thing that we need to start doing is enforcing our existing legislation to give our people choice. And as I said, when we put our foot down, 1,007 people move from being unemployed to being employed. And I remember being crucified. And who was the person who started the crucifixion that night in the Pac Caucus? The person who finances the TCCP. They started it. So I can tell you, my friends, yes, we have issues with our education system, but you know what? 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we started issues with our education system, but our people were still getting work and our people were still getting opportunities. You know why? Because back then we had the Cayman and Protection Law. And this is what we need to bring back into this country, a Protection Act that protect Caymanians.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders.
Mr. Rankin, for round 8, we'll start with you. This is actually the chamber pillar that is sustaining economic success. For the Beach Bay development, a major project is proposed for the Beach Bay area, a new Mandarin hotel. However, many residents within the Bodden Town West area oppose it. Do you support this development? Please explain, considering both the pros and cons for the community.
Can you repeat the question one more time, please?
No problem. A major project is proposed for the Beach Bay area, a new Mandarin hotel. Many residents from the Bodden Town West area oppose it. Do you support this development? Please explain, considering both the pros and cons to the community.
The pros, the cons. Okay, I will start by saying the project is being built, to my understanding, but I'll go back a bit further than that. I'm a Northwood resident. I grew up in Northwood, sorry. And one of the things that I used to love to do with my group of friends, every so often during the week, we would sneak out and we would hop on our bicycles, fixed wheel, and bolt down to Beach Bay. Back in the day, Beach Bay was filled with trees and wildlife and a whole bunch of marine wildlife as well. And I just find it so disheartening to see what that beach has become. That's been a place where my family has gone for over 3 decades. And now all of a sudden, when I go to the beach, it is nothing that like it used to be. I do agree that there needs to be development in Bodden Town, but I also equally agree that we have to have sustainable development that also takes the environment into consideration. And I'm really scared, I'm really nervous about the environmental effects of having such a large commercial building there on such a small beach. If 15 people are on that beach, it becomes overwhelming, let alone hundreds or possibly thousands of people, depending on how much individuals could be fit in that development. There's a lot of cons to it. The really only pro that I see to this situation is it will start to create a commercial environment in the area, which could then lead to more private businesses coming towards Bodden Town, creating jobs. But from an environmental standpoint, I cannot agree with the project. And to my knowledge, the incumbent has done nothing to address that. It's being built at the moment. And to my understanding, the previous elected member was a part of government when that whole project was put through. So I think this is a very interesting question, and I'm very interested to hear what the two people beside me have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Mr. Saunders?
Actually, I did address that issue, but if you live in Bodden Town West and not in Bodden Town East, you would have known that. We had organized a meeting with the residents of Beach Bay along with the developer. We went down there and for him present the plans in terms of what it is he wanted and his vision. Now, one of the things people need to understand, and this goes back to the issue again of enforcing laws, which I spoke about earlier, is that the project that went through the normal planning process, who objected, and the bottom line about it is they got the relevant or the necessary approvals. That was something that was done even before I was elected. One of the things that we wanted to do was for the developers to explain to the residents the impact that that development would have had and exactly what it is that they wanted to do. In terms of the pros, it's about basically creating, well, the value of people land will definitely go up. But the con with that is that so they probably, house insurance probably go up and all that kind of stuff too, when property values start to rise and even the cost of construction and everything else. So it is one of those things, but what I can tell you I do have an issue with, and that project did bring out, was when the planning law was changed to restrict the amount of people that could object to a project. That was one of the things that caused a problem. Now, if you go in now as an incumbent now and say, well, you're going to do this and do that, you're going to hear all kind of corruption where people are trying to get around the law. So you can't have your cake and eat it too, in the sense where someone does something lawful and then you have through political interference or something else, you hear something different. So whatever I do, I have to exercise it, I'll exercise it when I think is in the best right. But as it stands right now for that particular project, I honestly don't think it's going to be built. I have my different views on it, but the one thing that I wanted more than anything was for the developers to meet with the residents of Beach Bay, to go through it and see what can be done. Now, we talk about moving some initiatives east. I think from that standpoint, we need to have more activities in the Eastern District to move the traffic out of Georgetown. But that was one of them that the way in which the entire planning process and planning approval went down, it was an issue, and it left a bad taste in a lot of resident mouth, myself included. As I was listening to my friend here to the right, I can say that I too, as a young man growing up in Northwood, spent my time riding down to the very beach and enjoying it also. And at least twice a week, I still go and visit that beach just to de-stress a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Mr. Bodden.
Thank you. The project has been one of those that have been off and on, and it looks as if it's on again. Now, I know it caused a lot of angst in the Beach Bay area with the residents because they love the peaceful tranquility that they've become accustomed to there. And of course, there is an environmental impact because a lot of the natural beauty of that area is being affected. It comes with a lot of noise and pollution and littering and everything else, and heavy trucks on the road and a lot of construction passage. Now, I think that there are benefits to the project because the Mandarin Oriental is a top-class hotel if it does come to fruition. And I would imagine that there'll be a certain degree of beautification of the entire area, not just the hotel property, but the whole entire Beach Bay stretch. Now, the entrance included. Now, I would love to see that happen, but that beach has been quite an iconic beach. It's the only beach in that part of the island, really, because you don't get beach again until you pass Mans Road coming up to where I live, where I used to live, or where I do business. So that beach there was something that was a lot of people enjoyed, and it created an outlet to the sea for the people of Bodden Town West in particular. And I'm hoping, I don't know because I haven't been involved at all with the project, but I would like to know if there's some arrangement for a certain degree of access for the people of Bodden Town West. And when elected, that is the first question I would ask, that if this project is proceeding as I see it now, full speed ahead, then what is the plan for access to that beach and access to the amenities that will be provided? So that would be my consideration at this point. And I'm hoping that, I know right now residents are not happy with the volume of traffic, but I'm hoping that as things go on, that it will prove to be more of a benefit than a hindrance. That's all I can say at this time about it.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden.
Well, thank you, candidates. We've gone through 8 questions. Now we're in the final round of 4 questions. But before we ask the next question, we're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for the constituency of Bodden Town West. Gone through 8 questions so far, the last round of 4 questions, and we begin with Omari Corbin asking a question about financial services.
Thank you, Will. Mr. Saunders, we'll start with you for question number 9. The Cayman Islands has long relied on financial services as a key economic driver representing more than 50% of Cayman's GDP. What is your vision for protecting, growing, and/or diversifying our financial services industry to remain competitive globally?
Thank you very much for that question. As I said earlier, Omari, in my opening, when you look at the trend in financial services, as per the 2024 Spring Labor Force Survey, there were just under 4,700 people employed in financial services industry, which represented 7.7% of our working population. The thing about it that makes it scary is between Spring 2022 and Spring 2024 Labor Force Survey, we grew over 8,200 jobs we created. And in that period of time, financial services jobs remained flat. Back then, financial services represented 8.9% of the workforce. The financial services itself is under threat. And part of the threat comes from the high cost of what it is for doing business in Cayman. One of the things, and it's a bit unfortunate, while there were some benefits to the government from using the private fund fees, it is a situation right now where we're now costing ourselves out of the market. And that is one of the things that we need to fix. And as the government continues to their spending, and that's one of the things I'm proud of as Minister of Finance when I was there, that if you go back and look at the total government spending, the 1 year in which spending dropped year on year was between 22 to 21, and we were actually on track to lower the spending again in 23, but unfortunately things happened, it didn't turn out that way. But from that standpoint, we need to diversify government itself to take the pressures off financial services, because it is that high cost that is actually killing financial services, where a lot of businesses are moving out of Cayman because of that cost. And this is why we need to diversify the economy. That's the reason why I said we need to look at agriculture. We import $1.5 billion worth of goods in this country. 62 million of that alone is fruits and vegetables. So we can start looking at other stuff. Tourism needs to be diversified. Tourism needs to carry its weight. When we met with the Cayman Islands Tourism Association and start looking at how we can move from 500,000 stayover to over 1 million stayover by at least by 2035, look at expanding Cayman Airways and everything else. Because at the end of the day, while the financial services is still our bread and butter, we need to recognize that a day may come. I hope it's no time soon, but we need to start protecting and insulating our economy and diversifying our economy that is not just solely reliant on financial services.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Mr. Bodden?
Thank you. Financial services, as the question says, represents more than 50% of Cayman's GDP. That is very serious, because anything happens to that industry is what old people used to say, dog eat our supper. We know that during COVID, it was what that kept us going. So if we didn't know before, we then found out how important financial services were. We have to definitely diversify the economy. We have to look at new avenues for this country to take care of itself. We have $1 billion budget now for these little islands, and one of the things that bothers me is that we have For a long time, from time I know myself with politics and government in Cayman, we've had what you call a balanced budget approach. I think we need to move from that to a surplus budget approach. That is, the country should not be looking to spend everything that it earns. I don't think a business does that. I don't think you do that at home, although the homes that are hurting, of course, they spend more than what they make. But, you have to save money and put it for a rainy day. When you are able to create a wealth fund in a country, then you can take some of the pressures off of some of the expenditure that you have, and this will drive down the cost that is affecting us, because it is expensive for these companies to operate in Cayman, and they are shifting work overseas and through this one and that one to do work that would normally be done here. We have to see if we can, by government itself being more efficient and driving down the cost of doing business in Cayman, that we help the financial industry. But having said that, we still have to diversify the economy. We have to look at other things. I think one of those is coming up in a referendum, a national lottery. We are being hypocritical in this country. We are buying numbers every day illegally, and we are selling tickets, raffle tickets, which is a lottery. And what's wrong with having a national lottery in a country? And that would provide great income into this country, apart from just depending on two major sources, which is finance and tourism at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden. Mr. Rankin?
Thank you. Can you repeat the question one more time for us, please?
Sure, no problem. The Cayman Islands has long relied on financial services as a key economic driver, representing more than 50% of Cayman's GDP. What is your vision for protecting, growing, and or diversifying our financial services industry to remain competitive globally?
Thank you. One of the easiest ways we can seek to protect our financial services industry is to invest in our financial services industry. I work at a nonprofit named Cayman Finance, and when we look at the level of investment that is sent towards this nonprofit to go out and promote the industry, to go out and help grow the industry, compared to our competitors and other financial service hubs around the region, it pales in comparison. I think one of the easiest, obvious things to do is to start funding the promotion of our industry more to shore up our position globally. Something that may not be so apparent, but covers all of the aspects of what you just asked in the question, which is protecting, growing, and diversifying, is something that's very dear to my heart. Bitcoin. Bitcoin, 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 cryptocurrencies. We have to start to look at the problem that is going to come up in the near future if we're not remaining competitive, if we're not investing as a jurisdiction into Bitcoin and different types of virtual assets, if we're not updating our laws to ensure that we're competitive with our traditional financial services products. There's the funds that we know it, we have over 30,000 funds in Cayman. What happens when those funds say, you know what, we want to implement blockchain technology into our funds, and we want to become now securitized funds that uses blockchain technology. If our laws are not caught up, we're not going to be able to protect our financial services industry. If our focus does not shift to really embracing the technology of Bitcoin and blockchain, we won't grow. And if we do invest, if we do start to wrap our heads around it, we will naturally diversify our financial services products. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin.
Mr. Bodden, round 10, let's start with you. And this is a question that was actually submitted by the public. If elected, would you be willing to accept a cabinet position? If so, which portfolio do you believe you're best qualified to lead and why?
Thank you. Most definitely, I would be looking to be a minister in the next government, along with my colleagues in the TCCP. We believe that we have the experience, the ambition, and the drive to lead this country, the integrity under the leadership of Mr. Andre E. Banks. We do believe that we are the government of choice in this coming election. And I certainly would want to be and would be an MP and a minister in that government. Now, it is important because people, this is no time for rookies. This is a serious time. Yes, you will have rookies, but you have to know that you have a team that has a combination of experience and inexperience, a combination of male and female, a combination of age and youth. And I believe, again, that the TCCP is very well led and very well constructed to be an effective government at this time for the Caymanian people. You asked about the portfolio. I was trying to remember the second part, but it's on the screen. The portfolio that I would like to lead, I think I could, there's no restriction on any portfolio in terms of what I could lead because my experience is vast. I have experience in health, I have experience in business, I have experience in tourism. I basically have a business that's a part of the eastern tourism of the island. I have a wide ambit of I have financial experience. I bring a lot to the table as someone who has served as well as someone who has been in the community for a long time, leading in the community. As a preference, it's hard for me to say at this time what I would want to, and I don't want to be selfish at all in that regard. So I will leave that. I will not say at this time what portfolio, but I'm more than able to take whatever portfolio is thrown at me in the next government, and I'm looking to be there come April 30.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden. Mr. Rankin?
Yes, thank you for the question. If elected, would you be willing to accept a cabinet position? Yes, I absolutely would be willing to accept a cabinet position. I feel like it's very important to have a new ideas, fresh ideas via the new leadership that I believe I bring to the table. In terms of which portfolio I believe I would be best qualified to lead, I think I would be well suited for the youth, sports, and heritage portfolio. I have a pretty extensive background in sports. I've played for a national team in basketball. I've traveled quite extensively as a child. I've played basketball at the University of Tampa, Division II basketball. And I genuinely believe that with the right type of leadership, with the right ideas, we can really help push our youth forward. I want to be able to implement programs to help support them from a young age to be able to thrive in their respective sports. I also believe that, from a heritage standpoint, Cayman, we're losing our heritage. And I want to be able to be part of the reason why we can take it back. I want to be able to highlight our heritage, speak to our elderlies, do documentaries, do videos, have programs that connect the youth with the elderly and show them, all the fabulous things that Caymanians used to do. And I'll share a quick story with you. While I was canvassing, I met a lady who sews, I think that's the right word to use, creates hats, the thatch hats. And she told me how many hours one of them hats take to make, and I was just blown away by it. The level of patience she must have, determination she must have to actually craft that. I just took that really to heart and just thought to myself, imagine if my daughter was able to learn this and all the skills and all the patience it's going to teach her growing up. So I personally feel that I am willing to accept a cabinet position, and if so, I will humbly take any ministry, but in particular, I think I would be interested in the youth, sports, or heritage ministry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Mrs. Saunders?
Yeah, actually, there are three of them portfolios I really do have my mind on, or my target on. The first one is the Ministry of Health. for the simple fact that, one, I need to make sure that the government pass the motion to get a free health care for our children and our seniors, effective the 1st of January 2026. I need to make sure that get delivered, and the best way of making sure that actually happens is actually to be there. So that would be my first choice, because that's one of the things that are very near and dear to me in terms of the health care. The other one that's near and dear to me would be immigration, to continue the work that we have done. In 2021, when we looked at the trending for status grants, there were 590 that was done in 2021. I appointed a very competent board headed by Dr. Steve Macfield, and we had some really good people on it, the late Charlie Watler, Joanne Barnes, Rosert McLaughlin, Madeline, Denise Webster, good work of people. By 2022, they brought the number down to 523, and by 2023, the total amount of status grant was 266, the lowest has been since 2010. Unfortunately, last year, when I left, my board got moved around, and last year we ended up at 1,567 statuses. And again, that's an issue that I think is something that we need to deal with. And the last one for me is really pension. I mean, 2 weeks ago from today, the stock market lost $1.1 trillion in one go. In a 3-week period, it lost $5.2 trillion. With a T, not a B, 5.2 trillion over a 3-week period. And just last week, U.S. President Donald Trump spoke about maybe the U.S. even looking to exit the IMF. Again, that will affect the U.S. currency as one of the global reserve currencies that we have. And these are the kind of ramifications that are going to be hitting the Caymanian pension, Cayman economy, and everything else. Basically, prepare for a recession. So one of the things that you want to do, you want to look at ministries that can at least insulate, protect, and prepare our people for what is to come. So those would be the 3 that I'll be interested in.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders.
Mr. Rankin, we'll start with you for question number 11. The waste management facility was proposed to be relocated to the Bodden area over a decade ago, yet we still lack a definitive solution. What are your views on waste management and the Georgetown landfill, and what specific solutions do you propose to address this ongoing issue?
Yeah, sorry, can you repeat the question one more time for me, please?
Sure. The waste management facility was proposed to be relocated to the Bodden area over a decade ago, yet we still lack a definitive solution. What are your views on waste management and the Georgetown landfill, and what specific solutions do you propose to address this ongoing issue?
Yes, thank you for the question. The landfill issue has been an issue across many government administrations, and unfortunately it's not been fixed to date. Now, we have to look towards the future and what we can do to address the issue that we have now. And some of the things that I would be proposing, along with the Cayman Islands National Party, is to implement a modular waste to energy facility that is scalable, realistic, and also affordable. We also want to implement a mandatory recycling and composting across the islands. We want to have strong enforcement laws to stop littering and dumping. We want to create lasting behavioral change as well via public education. And one of the things we also want to do is to have regional cooperation to help lower the costs and rise the standards. And one of the key things for me really is the public education. I remember when my wife and I, we got together in London, and she took me to a small town called Buckingham, and I found it so odd when I met her in Buckingham. It was like all of these different colored bins and all of these like different colored plastic bags that you had to put the waste in certain bins at a certain time, or you would get fined and it would be a big thing. And I was like, all right, well, I don't care. I can just put it into whatever. And she was like very adamant about it. And after about 2 months of me putting, the food waste in the purple bag, I believe, and the plastics, I don't know, in the orange, let's just say, I got accustomed to it and it just became second nature. I feel like once we start to educate our public on the necessity to actually recycle and care more about our environment, it will become second nature to all Caymanians, and we can easily implement things that help to not only reduce waste, but protect the environment. Thank you.
Mr. Rankin. Mr. Saunders.
Well, first of all, I definitely don't support it moving to the Bodden area. Now, with regards to the Georgetown landfill, I'm going to say this much. One, as everyone knows, that I had serious issues with the then PAC government in terms of the costs. The contract was awarded for US $547 million over 25 years, and the numbers I saw was like $2 billion over 25 years. From speaking to the experts in the field, I was made to understand that we were looking at a Rolls-Royce solution when pretty much a Toyota will do. What I can say, and this is not something that I'd say take very lightly in terms of what I'm about to say, but I'm one politician who knows my limitations. And I am no expert when it comes on to the landfill. What I can say is that they are experts in the public sector, and they are also experts in the private sector. And what I can commit is to find those experts, put them in a room, and basically find a solution that is affordable, that the country can afford. I think that we have the skill sets here to do it. What I'm not prepared to do, like with most politicians, is that they have an answer for every single thing. And I can tell you, having been there 2 terms, similar to my friend Mr. Bodden, you realize that you really don't know the answer to everything. So this is not an area of expertise for me. But what I can say is that I will find the experts. There are some talented, very bright Caymanians out there. A lot of them, some of them even live in my constituency. And I will defer to them and bring them together that we can actually find a solution for the country. That is what I can commit to do in that regard. But outside of that, this is outside of my bailiwick of expertise.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Mr. Bodden.
Thank you. I too do not have expertise, but I do have some experience with this whole waste issue in this island. I was one of those that stood up to landfill coming to Bodden town. And I don't want to see another landfill in these islands. I don't think it's necessary. I think that the monstrosity that we have as Mount Trashmore is a sore enough sight for this small island. We have to definitely move strongly into recycling and don't give lip service to it. We've talked about it, but what's distressing for me with this is that 2013 I became the Minister of Health and I had this under my purview. I created then a waste management policy, the first waste management policy of the island. I left the ministry in 2015 and the strategic plan was put in place and the company hired from the UK to move this forward. After doing a full analysis of everything with the ministry, traveling to the US, seeing waste energy plants, and looking at what could be done. Modular, smaller units, not necessarily that cost effective, but something that we don't end up with another landfill. Now, since I left there, I've heard back and forth so many different, this one is involved, that one is involved, and unfortunately it hasn't gone anywhere. We have a crisis on our hands with this, and it's very sad because this is an important issue. The day that your garbage isn't picked up, you know how important it is. So we have to sort this out, and we need to definitely get this back on track. I think a component of waste to energy is needed, and I think we also may have to look, if you travel over to the sister islands, you'll see the mound of metal and garbage that is there. That was supposed to be moved to this island, and then we were supposed to look at moving stuff, getting arrangements to move stuff off Cayman. We are very small. We cannot be building landfills, and we must be able to use waste energy to our advantage, recycling and composting. So I hope that the government that's coming, that I'll be a part of, will get to the bottom of this and use the experience and use the people around us to make this into less of a crisis than it is at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden.
Okay, Mr. Saunders, we made it to the last question, and we'll start with you. This has to do with pensions reform. What strategies would you implement to address the shortfall in private pensions and the underfunding of the public service pension system, while ensuring future retirees are protected from financial insecurity and poverty?
when I come on to pension, Chumari, this is the fundamental problem with pensions. We have a contribution rate of 10%. It means it takes you 10 years to save 1 year's salary. And if someone even works for close to 50 years of their life, you're talking about 5 years worth of salary. If you're lucky enough and your investment doubles during that period of time, and let's say you even get to 10 years, here's a fundamental problem. We're kicking people out of the workforce at 65. Women are living until 84. They need 19 years worth of salary. 10 years of salary is short. Men are living until 79. You need 14 years worth of salary past the age of 65. You're still short. So the thing about it is this: the current pension system isn't working. And while I do understand the intentions when it was created back in the 90s by Mr. Bush, we need to sit down and have the conversation where it's not working. One of the things that I pushed in terms of the pension reform was to, one, get Caymanians to pay down their expensive mortgages, so at least they'll have an opportunity to basically not have that big overhead over their head. It makes no sense that people are paying 9-10% interest on mortgages and you are losing 15-16% on your pensions. At this point, as I said earlier, 2 weeks ago, 1.1 trillion gone. 3 weeks, 5.2 trillion gone in the stock market. Does anyone believe with a global recession coming and all of these challenges that we have in the world, that the stock market and the pension is going to be something that's going to be viable when people, 12 years from now, when people go to retire? My honest suggestion, give the people back their money, have them go and invest in building apartments. There's already a house shortage, and start making money. Because just the years gone by, many Cayman in retirement plan was actually renting apartments and making money from apartments. And that's what we want to do. Turn Caymanians back into landlord. Give them back their money, because I am sick and tired of Caymanians paying pension companies to lose their money. If I want to lose my money, I can do that myself. So to collapse all of what I just said, give the people back their money, let them go invest in Cayman real estate, let them go build apartments, and let them at least have money that they can retire on.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Mr. Bodden.
Thank you. A very serious problem, as we have so many. But pensions is something that is critical to the dignity of our seniors. And we'll all get there one day if we live long enough. After working a whole life and contributing to your country or whatever it was that you did, and for you to be able to retire in dignity, someone who doesn't have a lot of stash, a lot of money put aside, no great income coming in, they depend on their little pension. And as it stands now, because it's so underfunded, the pension is extremely small. It's not, it is what? If you retire, you go on to $1,500 a month if you're lucky. That is simply unacceptable, and there is no easy fix. We have to, as I mentioned earlier, about the budgeting and the surplus way of doing things rather than balanced budget, create funds in this country that can be put into taking care of our elders, ensuring that they get a livable amount each month, not having to retire and go to what is now the old NAU, the Department of Financial Assistance. It is simply not the way to treat our older people, and it's an undignified way to exit this world. Pension funds, they do invest and they do lose. And sometimes they make a little bit of money, but I don't see that lately. So we need to make sure that they're not gambling with our future. I think people need, before we are retiring people too early, that's another thing. I'm meeting 60-year-old people, 65-year-old people have been put out to pasture, simply don't have an income, a tiny pension, and are not making it, and having to go on financial assistance. That's, again, very, very humbling to them and an undignified retirement. So if we reach to that point, pension reform is certainly needed, and those people need access to some of their monies before they exit this life. We have to look carefully at that. And yes, in that regard, I have to agree with the incumbent. There is a degree of payback that we need, that people can invest in something, have some money, and hopefully retire in a dignified manner.
Thank you, Mr. Bodden. Mr. Rankin?
Yes, thank you for the question. Can you repeat it one more time for me? I just want to make sure I got that.
No problem.
Yep.
What strategies would you implement to address the shortfall in private pensions and the underfunding of the public service pension system, while ensuring future retirees are protected from financial insecurity and poverty?
Thank you. So I've been to many homes with elderly folk, and I've spoken to many of them. And you know what's a common thread when I go to these homes? A lot of them are retired, but they're still full of life. They're still able, they're still capable, they can still work. I think one of the easiest things to do from a legislative standpoint is to lift the retirement age to allow our elderly to continue to work instead of being pushed out of the workforce. And a lot of the times they want to work. I've seen 78-year-old individuals outside climbing coconut trees, chopping bush, doing all sorts of things. And it's sad to hear his story, their stories in terms of the $400 or $500 they're making in pension when light bill alone is $800-900. They can't survive. So for starters, I would lift the retirement age. Another thing is the civil service. We have almost 2,000 people in the civil service that are imported from overseas. And these individuals, I'm sure they're here doing a fabulous job, but let's look at the system that's in place. When they come here, not only do they get free health care, free schooling for their children, they also get free pension contributions for our government. These are things that are in the system that is burdening our entire way of life in Cayman, including pensions. If we were to address this and not pay out all this money and be smarter with how we were spending our money, we will not have such a big issue that we have in terms of the pension fund. Another idea that I would float around is creating funds that help subsidize people who cannot survive off of their current pensions. And I could propose two solutions for that. We could create a Bitcoin savings fund. We can put 10, 20 million in that fund that earns interest daily, monthly. That interest could be used to subsidize. Also, instead of allowing foreigners to invest in our property and drive up our property prices, we could compel them, if they want to buy status, pay money into the fund. And again, that fund could be used to help our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin.
Well, I'd like to thank the candidates. We've gone through 12 questions. It was a lively discussion. And right now we're going to take a short commercial break. And when we return, each of our three candidates will be delivering their closing remarks. Please stay tuned.
EV public charging can be a bit tricky to navigate if you're new to the game. But fear not. Here's a little 101 on all things public charging at your CUC charge station. The first tip is to get the mobile app up and ready on your phone before you charge your EV at the charging location. You can scan the QR code to load the app from sitting in your car. Download the mobile app, register a charge account, load money into your charge wallet. You must have a minimum of US $5 balance in your charge wallet to begin a charging session. Scan the QR code again to start a charging session using this charger. You can also enter the station ID number into the app. Follow the instructions on the mobile app to initiate your charging session. Now you're ready to charge your EV. Select either the right or the left charge plug. Plug your car in and make sure it shows as charging on your dashboard. Charging for 1 hour will give you up to 35 miles of charge. Charging to 80% optimizes battery life and reduces the risk of overcharging. So in that time, you can shop or go to work or chat with fellow EV owners. It's a real community out there. Great to see you, Maya. Happy charging, everyone. See you on the road.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for the constituency of Bodden Town West. Gone through 12 questions this evening, and now it's time for each of the candidates to deliver their 2.5-minute closing statements. We begin with Mr. Osborne Bodden.
Thank you, Will. I wish to thank all here tonight for their participation and the Chamber for hosting us, and also thank the viewing audience and those attending in person. As we conclude, I know that I have what it takes to lead this country in the right direction with my TCCP colleagues. We bring integrity, ability, and experienced leadership to the table under the leadership of Mr. Andre Ebanks, and a unified team that can achieve much for Cayman without special interests. Looking at my two opponents, I must say that firstly, this is not a time for political novices to learn on the job in Bodden Town West, as being an MP has a steep learning curve in and out of Parliament, and we need someone to hit the ground running to fill the gap of 8 years that's been left. Secondly, in terms of the incumbent, he has sadly failed, although able, in representing the people of Bodden Town West. He has neglected their cries and calls for help and simply been inaccessible. Group chats and fruitcake once a year is not enough for an MP to offer. He was fired by the Park government as Deputy Premier, and he ended up losing his Ministry of Finance, and over to the southeast corner he went. From a position of great power and influence to one where he can only make noise and bring good sounding motions for the government to consider. These will often pass, but that's where it ends in many cases. He doubled down on this failure by using his parliamentary privilege to threaten the good people of Bodden Town West with violence for upsetting a family member. This cannot be acceptable and was a grave error in judgment on his part. Based on these indisputable facts, I believe it is clear who the choice should be for the people of Bodden Town West to choose as their new MP on April 30. So therefore, I humbly ask for your support and vote on the day. And I encourage you to come out early to the Agriculture Pavilion in Lower Valley, vote one and done, and enjoy the rest of the holiday. I pray God's blessings on all of us over the next 5 weeks, and may He grant us wisdom and strength to make the right decisions for these islands and our Caymanian people, residents and tourists alike. So April 30, vote for me, Osborne, Ozzy Bodden, on the ballot, and I will serve you with humility and dignity. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you to the chambers. Thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight to listen to this discussion. I really appreciate each and every last one of you. I will start my closing remarks by saying this. Caymanians don't need politicians. We need leaders. We need leaders who put Caymanian citizens first. Leaders that remember who they are and where they come from. And leaders who can get the job done. For nearly a decade, I've worked at the Office of the Ombudsman, leading investigations that has held the government accountable. the police, and the private sector accountable. I've helped to change laws, policies, and fix systems. At Cayman Finance, a local nonprofit organization, I have led a department that is instrumental in developing our fintech industry and shoring up our financial services sector, creating jobs for people, mentoring our youth, and making sure that there's a brighter future for our kids to come home to. Cayman, I have served this country at a very high level for a very long time, albeit quietly, but consistently and with integrity, and all for the benefit of Caymanians. And while previous governments were failing the people, I was preparing for this moment, building a record of public service and never forgetting who I serve: God, my family, and the people. This election is not about who's the loudest or who can hold a seat the longest. It's about character, judgment, and choosing a leader who reflects the best of all of us. I represent a new generation of leaders who can work with others, who will not back down and will not quit on the people. I do not seek to gain this world and lose our country. I want to bring unity, prosperity, and hope back to our shores. Thank you all for tuning in. God bless you all, and may you enjoy the rest of your week.
Mr. Chris Saunders.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank my colleagues for the campaign that they are running so far. First of all, I want to make one thing clear. I don't own a cow card. So we find that when it comes down to violence in that regard. What I want to say is this, and when we talk about character, I can tell you what character is. Character is sitting on the Ombudsman Oversight Committee, knowing who does what, knowing where the work is done, who actually does the actual work, and not calling someone out for what they would refer to in the U.S. military terms as stolen valor. I can tell you who did the work, having sat on that committee. What I can say this election is about, and my friends, I want you to look at the table in front of me. There's no binder. There's nobody putting any words in my mouth. And this is exactly what is wrong with the parliament that we have today. Too many special interest people are writing speeches and telling politicians what to say. And therein lies the problem. When you talk about special interests, I can tell you, when we took the hard line on immigration, it was the finance of the TCCP that had a problem with us taking a hard line on work permits. When we were taking a hard line on immigration, it was the party leader of the Cayman Islands National Party that came and met with me as Minister of Labour, trying to get more work permits through efficiently for his own people, and I said no. These are the kind of people that we have financing these parties that are doing every single thing to advance their own personal interests at the expense of Caymanian opportunities. I can tell you right now, as my good friend Jay would say in East and North Side, I'm unbossed and unbought. Nobody owns Chris Saunders except the people of Bodden West. I do not have the deep pockets that these guys have to run the campaign that they want to get the message out. And for me to do that, it would require me to go to corporate Cayman and make deals and cut all kind of things to raise money. That I cannot do, and that I will not do. The only thing I can give to the people of Bodden West is my hard work and my competence and my caring and compassionate way of getting things done. I look at my record and I stand by my record. Unfortunately, many of the business people and the special interest groups have a problem with people standing up for Caymanians. And I can tell you, I proudly will go back through and do exactly what it is I did. I have made no apologies for that. But what I can say to you about this election, it's about the future. As I said earlier, 2 weeks ago, 1.1 trillion lost from pensions, 5.2 trillion lost in 3 weeks. Our people are hurting. We have a global recession coming. There is a global reset happening. And what you need right now is competent, capable people that can position Cayman for the challenges that are coming. Trump is on a roll. We're already seeing what is happening. And the last thing you want now is opportunists, dreamers, and novices who have to be dependent on people to tell them what to say. They can't talk from their heart. They can't talk from their thing there. And that's all I can give you. My heart, my love, and my competence. The people that Cayman has invested in me, and I'm paying them back. Thank you very much. And wish God bless. Please vote for me April 30th.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Again, 12 questions, closing statements. Incredible evening, I think. Now I'm going to turn it over to our President, Omari Corbin, for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Will. On behalf of the Chamber Council and staff, I'd like to thank Mr. Osborne Bodden, Mr. Heyman Ranking, and Mr. Chris Saunders for participating in this evening's forum. I trust that this forum will help Bodden Town West voters make informed decisions about who to vote for when they go to the polls on April 30th. I'd also like to thank Ashley Furniture and Home Store, CUC, Foster's, and Logic for sponsoring the Chamber's candidate forums. Please join us tomorrow evening as we welcome 3 of the 5 candidates from Cayman Brac East, Ruth Ann Bodden, James Christian, and Dan Scott. Please note that all forums will be posted on the Chamber's YouTube channel for future reference. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you will join us tomorrow evening. Have a restful night.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy-saving tips from CUC, so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.